This is being able to do the things you want to do without feeling exhausted. And whether that's me carrying my kid up the stairs in his bouncer because I need to change to get here to the podcast and not feeling like I'm going to fall. And then, coming in here and killing Fran with my friends. Fitness is about doing what you want, showing yourself you can do more than you thought. And I want to throw some part of the community in there too, but fitness is being an overall good person who's happy. And if that's whether you're doing CrossFit or you're running, you got to find the things that work for you. And for me, it's showing up here, being a part of this community and having the friends that I've gotten from it.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jared Basson with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And our wonderful, highly esteemed guest, Michelle Reid. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. We have a special guest. You might hear chime in from time to time in the background, but newborn with us today.
Mm-hmm.
So
4 weeks on Friday.
4 weeks on Friday.
Weeks. Wow.
At what point do people stop saying he's 26 months? I heard someone the other day. She's 33 months. I'm like, well, that's
pretty
just
sure it's
like
2 years.
It's pretty much 2 years at that
You
point.
stop at
Almost
that point.
three.
Yeah.
Almost three.
So like someone had a friend of mine, Joe. He's on his second or third kid, and they did like the baby's like 2 months, and then he had a picture next to him. It was like 3,000 months. It's like
You got to stop at some point
Yeah.
for sure.
So, let's start off. We generally start off just finding out where people are from. I mean, you're not actually from the Cincinnati area, correct?
Nope. Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky.
Louisville.
Louisville. And that's how you know I'm from there. And came up here back in 2010 for law school. And then, the Banks was going through this whole development, OTR was going through this whole change, and I really liked the friends I developed here, part of which was my CrossFit community. So worked my butt off during school to find a job and got hired 6 days before I graduated and stuck around Cincinnati.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's passing the bar and finding a sustainable job. I feel like is pretty tough. I've known quite a few lawyers, and I feel like that's not like, oh, I'm a lawyer now.
No, I'd say since 2008 with the big downturn, it's still, I think 50% of my class actually went into law, and we graduated in 2013. So the market's just changed. Everybody has to hustle for themselves.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. So we've known each other now for, I guess the three of us have known each other now for, let's see, it'll be 5 years this October for Triumph, and then I've known you for 2 years prior, 3 years prior to that.
Yeah, I'd say my CrossFit versary is, I think it's July 12th of this year. It'll be 6 years.
All right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
I remember how people used to always remember their CrossFit anniversary. So
I don't remember the day. I just remember feeling awful.
Right.
yeah.
Like, you remember that day? Like, now I just remember feeling really bad.
Well, because we always started with baseline.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
That was the first workout we all
I
did.
guess that's a pretty memorable one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't actually do baseline my first day. It was like months later that I did baseline. I was like, wow, it's a pretty awful workout.
Yep.
Yeah. My first day was actual. I mean, no BS. It was Murph. From as far as actual, like in the classroom. Like, I came on a Saturday, and then they were actually warning me, like, you probably should hold off. Like, don't do this one, because it was obviously right around Memorial Day. And sure enough,
Yeah.
it was Murph. And,
No, I remember Seabass, one of the former coaches of Triumph, was coaching me that day, and she let me know about a year later. During the workout, she was very nice and encouraging, and obviously I came back. I got hooked that day, but she told me about a year later how terrible I did. So,
in a very polite way.
in a very Seabass polite way. So I've definitely improved since then.
I think there's something powerful, with that first day experience. I mean, whether it's a good, bad, or ugly experience, it's definitely something different.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was hooked after feeling like crap after a 12-minute workout. So
Yeah.
I think it just pushes this self-internalization of like, what have I been doing? Or like, what if maybe I need to look at my nutrition. Maybe I need to look at my friends, or whatever. It's just this whole like awakening experience.
Was there a athletic background behind CrossFit?
Yeah. So in growing up, I played a ton of different sports, but mainly in high school, I played soccer and I swam, and kept up with indoor soccer in college. And then in college, I found a master's swimming program. So if you were over 18 and you knew how to swim.
It was like, I'm a master. You're 19. Masters.
I was a master's at 19. So I did that. And actually, part of how I chose my law school is I made sure that there was a master's team in the area. So for the first year and a half of law school, I swam master swimming about
That's
3
really
or 4
cool.
times a week.
I didn't know you were a swimmer. That's pretty awesome. So then you found CrossFit. You've been through, I'd say, different evolutions of CrossFit. We've seen kind of every aspect in your kind of CrossFit career. How did that kind of start, as far as like, you said you were hooked, but like what was it about it that was like, wow, this is for me?
Well, you guys know me. I don't really take the easy route on anything. I like challenges. I like difficulty. And that first workout, I thought I was in great shape, right? Swimming 4 days a week, maybe 2,500, 3,000 meters, something like that. And that workout,
I would drown, by the way.
Yeah.
well, that workout
sounds
put me
daunting.
on the floor. And I'll give a shout out to Chris Neiman. He hunted me down in school for 6 months to get me to try CrossFit. So finally I was annoyed enough that I came and tried it. And it was just hard. And then the other thing was I found women who were like me. I am not a small female by any scale of imagination. I have big shoulders. I've had big thighs my whole life. And I looked around that gym, and most women had those big shoulders and those big thighs. And it was like, these are my people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't all like figure models. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And
People
throwing
that
on
have
some,
that
throwing
like,
on some heavy weight.
stereotype of CrossFitters, you have to have a six-pack before you start.
No, and I don't mean everybody was walking around the gym absolutely ripped. I
Right,
just
sure,
meant
sure.
everybody was there to work hard, have a good time, and
Mm-hmm.
they celebrated something other than a number on the scale.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and too, I think that we've talked about this ad nauseum, but it's just the camaraderie and the
Oh, hands down.
Community.
the community. It's like that. Everyone is on a level playing field when something sucks that bad.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
and,
what
and,
it is.
and the other thing about it is CrossFit's one of those things you got to do right or don't do it at all. I mean, no rep yourself, that kind of thing. And as a type A personality, you kind of fall in love with the rules. So I like that too.
Yeah, there's some accountability there for sure. And some self accountability that I again it was drawn for me as well, where it's just like, and that there's tons of different adages and sayings and stuff like that, but the one is like you're only cheating yourself, but it is very true because the Open is coming up here in a month and 4 days, and not that anyone's counting, but it's one of those things where like that's when it counts, because all those times that you did take that no rep for yourself and then you put it back into the workout, or the times that you didn't, that's going to show when someone is sitting there with a clipboard going
Definitely.
10, 11, 12, and that's when it really does count. So you kind of found a home, and then we did some programming together, and things got pretty serious as far as like where you wanted to go. So what was that evolution from like, I'm really enjoying this, to maybe I want to take this to the next level?
Yeah, so I'll be very frank about that. Back in 2012 and 2013, regionals seemed attainable for the average Joe. I mean, it did.
Hey, you got handstand push-ups? I go to regionals.
I can do that.
I mean,
I can do that.
it really was. I mean, maybe not as much on the individual level, but
Yeah.
definitely a team.
On a team level, yeah.
Team level, you could have a day job and
For sure.
still CrossFit.
Yeah,
at regionals.
and for me, it was one of those things that was like, I'm a generalist. I can do CrossFit. Why don't I give it a shot? I can kind of do anything I put my mind to. And I remember Jarrett, with a very frank conversation, he looked at me and said, maybe teams, maybe if you really buckle down for the next year, and maybe then if you focus on your weaknesses too, we could make that happen. And he wasn't being mean, but Jarrett and I are friends, and he's a realist, and I
really
appreciated
comes
that.
down, But we've talked about this a lot before too. It comes down to, what are you willing to give up?
And that's very true. And I wasn't willing to totally drop everything.
Because, exactly. As a lawyer, and like, whether fill in the blank, you only have so much effort and energy to be given during the day. What are you willing to take away to add to this plate of basically physicality in the gym?
100%.
I think that's really what it comes down to, and that's that. We see it. We definitely don't see it as much anymore. But it's one of those things when people come in, they do a workout, like, oh, I want to go to regionals, and I love the drive, but it really comes down to the understanding. I think Ben Bergeron talked about it, where he had a client, and they're like, well, I want to go to regionals, and he almost laughed and scoffed at him. And then 2 years down the road, it's like he had to show him, like, this is exactly what it's going to take. And I don't think it's not that you can't do it. It's just, what are you willing to give up?
Yeah.
Because it comes down to sleep, it comes down to nutrition, it comes down to mobility.
Right.
Those are three very unsexy things. It has nothing to do with. It has less to do with the amount of muscle ups and stuff like that you're putting in the gym, and way more about the stuff you're doing outside of the gym. Because that's only 1/4 of that big segment. Well,
and to your credit, through that conversation, we came to the conclusion that I was just tired of being. I was good at CrossFit, but I couldn't do toes to bar. And I was good at CrossFit, but I couldn't do handstand push-ups. So we just picked out some weaknesses, really laser focused in on them. I think I was kind of your guinea pig for a while.
Yeah.
And
it was fun. We did some cool stuff.
And after 6 months, I was actually what I felt like a decent local competitor. I could win things, and
I would say you were
all that stuff.
Good local competitor. And just as a bystander in that whole process, like seeing your development as a CrossFit athlete, there was clearly like this, that time span where she, kind of went from an everyday kind of whiteboard athlete to like, holy crap, Michelle's like RXing workouts and doing a lot of weight now, and so on and so forth. And it is just that little bit more accountability, and then you just start layering that on and layering it on and see where it goes.
And it really comes down to what's the goal. I think maybe the one thing we just on a personal level, what we probably should have done is put a end time frame on it, instead of just saying this is just going to be an ongoing thing. I think it would have been much more. It would have behooved us to say we're going to do this for 4 months and see where we are.
Yeah.
Because I think it basically, when you don't have that end light at the end of the tunnel, it's really hard to basically see, like, well, okay, I'm getting better, but now what? But if you have, like, in 6 months, I've got a competition, and this is what I'm going to train for. Because it keeps that spark alive. Because again, if you just have extra programming, that extra programming just becomes mundane at that point, regardless of how exciting it is.
Yeah.
You have to have some sort of goal at the end, not just to be better.
Sure.
And I think that's just learning as a coach and learning as an athlete.
I think too, and again, like regionals and stuff like that is kind of almost like a low-hanging fruit as far as like to make it a goal, like to go to regionals. It's similar to be like, I want to go to the Olympics. You know what I mean? and like kind of like Jared's saying, and you can correlate this to any aspect of life, whether it's lawyer or whatever it is. Like you got to go to school before you take the bar, so on and so forth. There's a process. So kind of like you're saying, maybe I'll hit a local comp, maybe I'll hit a bigger kind of regional event eventually. But having that plan in place is just so key, because I think it's one of those things a lot of people will shoot for the stars, especially now. You can definitely say like, hey, if I want to go to the CrossFit Games, that's shooting for the stars. It's like, all right, look, let's take a step back. I love your ambition, but like, let's just try to start RXing some workouts. Let's see what our frame time is now, and maybe we'll retest that at a later date, 12, 16 weeks, whatever it is, and see if we can take some time off that, or just like Jared said, probably a lot of like doing the non-sexy type stuff, and that's probably, again, that's just life.
Let's sleep 9 hours a night and see how you perform. But the crazy thing is I bet it would be way better than just doing extra work.
Yeah. 100%.
Well, and again, I think all of us, Michelle, you just shared you've been doing CrossFit for quite some time now. I think we all get to a point with our training where we're like, I just need to rest, I really need to be careful. My low back is acting up. So it's having that there's this like self-diagnostic kind of.
Yeah, well, and I was 23 when I started this game.
Yeah,
I remember I snatched 95 pounds. Like I was 3 months into CrossFit because Jared kept telling me 5 more pounds. And at that point in time, I probably should have been doing 95 pounds. Now I'm 6 years later, I'm 29, close to 30. I want to do this a long time. Obviously, I'm doing more weight, but I'm getting way more careful as to when I pop that 5 pounds on.
Well, and two, I think that started with there was an injury, and this you have, for people who don't know Michelle or ever seen her overhead, you have weird elbows. Like that's the weirdest. They
hyperextend, Jared.
They're hypermobile. I just call them weird elbows. They're hypermobile. They hyperextend when you're overhead. And we did have at a competition, you did have an injury, right? And
tore my UCL.
Yeah. So, and there was fear of surgery as well, right?
Yeah. So it was a snatch ladder, and the top weight was 135, which I'd hit before, admittedly only about 3 weeks before. And I didn't warm up properly. I wanted to watch my fiance at the time hit his weight, and I just felt all this popping internally. I knew nobody else heard it, but I flipped out. And I found out later another girl did it at that same competition, same thing. But I was in the doctor's office the next day, and they basically told me, look, you can be in this arm brace for 6 weeks and do PT and see how that goes, or we can do Tommy John surgery, and that's an 18-month recovery. Ooh. So we went with the arm brace.
Yeah.
Well, you went with the arm brace because again, what does the goal become?
Yeah.
You know, am I a crazy driven competitor that has to have this or else I can't live my life, or can I still be a very fit person? You know, CrossFit is an all-encompassing thing, and unfortunately injuries do happen. You know, and you say like that other girl that, you know, she did that during the competition. This doesn't mean that something was necessarily unsafe. It's just you know, a bad coincidence between the two. But it's one of those things when it becomes, what's the end goal? Can I be fit still and be cautious and probably learn from this, you know, and become a better athlete? I think absolutely. You know, so you had, I remember the arm brace, and you had quite a bit of time off, and then so kind of.
But you were still working out with the arm brace,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I love CrossFit. This is my antidepressant. This is my community. I tell people it's my church. I still showed up probably 4 or 5 times a week. And if I could do something one-armed, I did it. I could still squat. My arm squat or air squats and lightweight, that kind of thing. But then I also just did my PT during things I couldn't do. I just went off into the corner, still hung out, cheered everybody on, but I did what my doctors told me to do and took it easy and rested.
And weird, it worked.
Yeah, I am.
The hardest rest.
I snatched like 125 at some point last year after everything. So still not back at 135, but I'm very happy with my 125.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's perspective.
100%. So how long ago, so that was, were we here when you were still in the arm brace? Or were we at the old gym?
No, we
still?
were at the old gym.
Okay. And then.
So that's 2 years ago now.
Yeah, so we kind of catch people up to speed a little bit. You and Marshall have been together for how long?
Oh God, he's gonna kill me. Since 13,
Tell me
so
the
close to
exact
4
date.
years.
Okay.
And where
Close
did
to
you
4
guys
years.
meet?
We met at a CrossFit gym.
There it is.
Yeah, but it was at the the second Covington location.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you actually got engaged at a CrossFit
We
gym,
did.
correct?
We've bounced around a few gyms, but Marshall, I remember it was the first workout of 2015, the first open workout of 2015, and Marshall texted me that morning and said, what should I wear? And I thought to myself, you're a grown man. Pick out your outfit. I don't know. What are you asking me this for? And I remember showing up late because there was one of the marathons or something. So all the roads were blocked off. I was ticked off and everything. And
Every weekend in the summer, there's some other 5K happening.
oh, yeah, for
Unreal.
sure. And anyways, got to the gym, and this was when we were at CrossFit 513 United. And they had just celebrated, I think, close to their 1 year.
Oh, cool.
And so there was a big card on the whiteboard, and They asked me to read it, which I thought was ridiculous. Why not have Marshall read it? He's louder. They turned it around, and my now husband asked me to marry him that day and got down on one knee. And
Boom.
so there it was. And he
That's
wore a very
fantastic.
nice outfit with his
what should
Yeah.
I
wings
wear?
on his
What
socks.
should I wear?
It's like
too funny.
It would have been even better if he would have, you know, he says that and then you're like, well, for what? It's like, well, I'm going to ask you to marry me. So,
Well, the
I need
poor
to
man,
know.
he tried to, I had just taken the Kentucky bar, and he tried to help me celebrate by going to Jeff Ruby's, and my response was, well, we don't know if I've passed. What are we celebrating?
Oh, jeez.
So he went with the CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
funny. So you ruined your own.
Yeah, I'm
That's
pretty
okay.
oblivious when it comes to flirtation and that kind of
That's
thing.
all right.
So
That's all right. That's okay.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah. Well, I do think there's some, there's a correlation there, and the power of that community and the power of, every gym and every community is going to be different, but every gym and every community, or every gym has a community, and I think that there's just something to be said about being around people that, you enjoy being around. If you're not in it, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
no.
Like you can't really explain, like,
Well, and
what
I'll
do you
be
mean by this community thing?
to
Like,
be frank, I was dating a gentleman before I'd met. Gentleman's a nice word. Before I met Marshall, and in dating him, I realized I have to date someone who CrossFits. I can't stand this person not understanding what I'm talking about or giving me crap for whatever reason. I think he didn't like I lifted more than him. That's
Yeah,
just me.
that would be ego check right
So
Yeah,
it
you
was
go check that.
it was important to me to have somebody I could share this with.
Yeah, because I think there has to be, obviously you don't have to do CrossFit to like be in a relationship, but at the same time it makes things, to be able to come here on a Saturday, work out with a significant other or your family. Again, we've got the fit family class going on Saturdays now, and like to be able to see parents work out with their kids, like it's just an experience. It's a different experience. It's different than going out to eat with them. It's different, like, it's different than, just going to the
coaching
park.
them on a team.
Yeah,
You're in the grind with them.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
It's the suck.
It's embracing that suck together. I don't know how else to put it. It's
I think
really
it was pretty awesome the other day. I talked to a lady here, mom, and she was telling me they were out somewhere on the weekend, and her little girl was walking kind of funny, and she's like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "Mommy, my legs hurt." And she's like, "Oh, and squats?" She's like, "Yeah, me too." So
there you go.
It's kind of a fun little
bonding
moment, you know.
yeah.
And then the other kids were asking her like, "Why are you walking so funny?" I'm like, "I went to CrossFit and did squats."
That's
And I
awesome.
was like, "Oh, that's freaking cool."
That's really fun. I want to take just a really quick break. I want to come back and we'll talk about how we've transitioned into basically a different role for fitness in your life, and having a family now, and maybe some experience with pregnancy through CrossFit, because that's huge. We see that pretty often, but maybe hearing it from the horse's mouth, so to say.
Sounds good.
All right, I'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Blaze,
Mark McCain,
Jarrett Baston.
Derek Gidney, Chris Lemel,
and I'm a coach.
and I am an owner and trainer here.
I am a coach.
I'm the head coach.
I'm one of the owners and trainers here at Triumph Strength and Conditioning.
I enjoy coaching because I like seeing people improve upon their fitness and do things they never thought they were capable of.
My favorite thing about coaching is helping people achieve their goals and ultimately build relationships.
By far, I think my favorite thing to coach is definitely the snatch. It's just one of the things that I've picked up along the way that I really, really enjoy seeing the technical side of things, combining the speed, the strength, and the agility all in one very, very fast and dynamic movement.
Things I like coaching the most are, I guess there's the higher technicality lifts, the snatch, clean and jerk, muscle ups, handstand push-ups. There's always just something that we can be tweaking or fixing on it.
I try to affect people by either volunteering or just kind of giving my talents outside of the gym to bring community closer, whether it's interacting with members outside of the gym in a fitness capacity or just as friends.
As coaches or as a coach, I like to help people enjoy life outside of the gym, enjoy the little things, and always focus on the positives instead of focusing on the negative.
Welcome back to Everyday Athlete. We're here with Michelle Reid. I think you're still in my phone as Michelle James, by the way. I probably should change that.
I say it by accident sometimes still.
Yeah. We left talking kind of ending out halfway through the kind of CrossFit career and getting engaged, and now we have an addition to the family. We see basically mothers, and we have a lot of people come through that are pregnant or getting pregnant, and there's always a question like what to do, what not to do, and basically from my experience, it's a 100% individual basis. We have some people that, like, I remember Jean Hicks, bench press PR, and
Man, I love
8.5 months pregnant,
Yeah.
But and then I've had other people where they're in the first trimester and they have to stop. So like maybe just because I physically will never experience it, but
Are you sure?
Yeah, well, is it Mr. Mom?
I mean, there's some science out there right
Was
now.
it Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Mr. Mom.
Mr. Mom.
Yeah,
There it is.
But maybe speak from your experience. What was it like? What were the big modifications, and how did it really affect your training?
Sure. For me, picking my OBGYN was the first step. We knew we wanted to have kids eventually, and I had a friend who had her first, and her doctor allowed her to do high-intensity workouts all the way through her pregnancy. So I thought, that's my OBGYN. So I found her, and we talked way before I was pregnant, and I just said, we're thinking about doing this in the next year or so. And she said, look, you've been CrossFitting long enough. Just keep doing what you're doing. Stay healthy and work out, and it'll be fine. And when I did get pregnant, she said the same thing. You've been doing this for 5 years. You know your body. If you're comfortable doing it, do it. The only thing she asked was to keep my heart rate below 155, which, by gosh, that is very hard to do in CrossFit. And
Fran, it took me 11 minutes.
Well, it's funny you say that. I PR'd my Fran when I was 6 weeks pregnant.
There you go.
I can't remember the time.
It's because you were fitnessing.
It's down. It's down on the whiteboard. But I just thought to myself, I got a strong zygote in there. Doing good, buddy.
What is the biggest medical concern then? I mean, just is it the heart rate? Is it the up and down movements?
Yeah, a couple things. It changes every trimester. That first trimester, if you're deprived of oxygen, they're deprived of oxygen. You're kind of, however you're feeling, they're feeling.
If you're sucking wind, they're not feeling.
They're not getting everything they should be getting too, because your body is diverting oxygen to other places. Then in the second trimester, I was still under the same restrictions. I could lift as much as I wanted. Now, from a personal perspective, I didn't want to do that. And I'll say this, I wanted badly to be a part of that CrossFit woman tribe who still clean and jerks 155 and, is pulling big weight and killing Fran times while she's 6 months pregnant. But I couldn't. I was tired and felt I didn't eat as well as I used to. I didn't like vegetables. They were pretty disgusting. I ate a lot of potato chips. So it was just different. And so that second trimester, I really started backing the weight down. And that concern there is you don't want to start early labor. You don't want to send yourself into contractions because you're, putting 155
max
over.
height
Yeah,
box jump.
definitely. and same thing in falling. We couldn't do box jumps. That was a really big concern. Rope climbs immediately out the door. And so just taking care of that. And then the third trimester, same thing. You want to watch out for early labor. And you guys know this. I was 34 weeks pregnant. And I started having contractions 3 minutes apart. Went to the hospital, and turns out everything was fine. I'm, quote, just one of those women that has lots of contractions. That's a diagnosis.
Wow.
And then I was asked to stop CrossFitting at that point. So, and I understood. I mean, it's my baby's life. I don't want to have him early.
How long before the delivery was that?
We had him close to 38 weeks. So it was about 4 weeks.
About 4 weeks. Okay.
Yeah. And even then, I still kept up with walking and just trying to stay fit
and
somehow.
the reality is that's such a, even in 5 years, that amount of time is a blip on the radar. In your lifetime, it's even smaller.
Oh yeah.
When you're talking about the safety of your child and things like that. And it's, what you said there is I still try to keep up with some sort of fitness. I think that's still important. You just don't want to be completely sedentary.
No.
And that's maybe even less for the child, but more just for your psyche.
Oh, that and I ended up having a C-section, which we didn't expect at all. But I'll say this, I feel great. I'm 4 weeks out postpartum. I remember that day, the PCAs, they help you walk around. They want to get you moving. And I needed their help the first time. And they offered to me, they said, look, we can come back in one more time tonight and help you move around, or you can stay down. And being in this community, movement is better than nothing. So I just said, nope, get in here, wake me up at 4 a.m., let's do this. And at 4 a.m., instead of them holding my hands to walk to, the 10 feet to the bathroom, I took my own IV and walked myself. So it's little things like that makes a difference.
Yeah, because that's the when you start talking about playing the long game, that is fitness. Again, whatever fitness regimen it is, you have to be able to play the long game. There are no shortcuts in this. But like if you're 70, can you walk with your own IV?
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is being able to be functional and under your own accord for as long as you possibly can.
Yep.
Delaying decrepitude, right? They talked about that at the L1. Me and Michelle went to.
I have 2 grandparents that are not doing fantastic right now, and watching my grandfather, basically they give him a walker and take away his keys, and and he's pretty elderly, but at the same time I know that it kills him to not be able to do the things that he once was able to do.
Yeah.
And like you said, delaying that as long as you possibly can. It's inevitable. We all know it's inevitable.
And honestly, sometimes you're just extremely unlucky, in the realm of certain things, but you try to control what you can control. And it sounded, when I was listening to Michelle there, it just sounds like you have that mindset of, going into your pregnancy, you're like, all right, it started with me choosing this person that believes in what I believe in, which is ultimately movement. CrossFit is movement. It's not the sedentary type of fitness. Clearly, there are some out there. I just go on brisk walks. It's like you got to do a little more than that.
Yeah.
So
prance now.
Up the prance. Okay.
Sorry, prance.
Okay, yeah. The prancers. But anyway, long story short, you have that mindset, and if you can embed it in yourself at an earliest age possible, whatever age you're at, if you're not doing it, start doing it now. Just start moving, doing stuff that's functional. Ultimately, it's going to increase the odds, and because we know that the odds can get stacked against us pretty quick through, smoking and bad nutrition and all these killers that we're figuring out. I mean, come on, guys, we literally used to smoke on planes, and they're like, that's okay. Like, at least we're getting some of these unhealthy habits kind of out of just society norms. So to say, but hopefully we can eventually make functional fitness just a society norm, where people are like, oh, you know what? It is healthy to do squats and deadlifts and so on and so forth. It's not just these weird people at that warehouse looking building over there.
Yeah. So you've been through a pretty significant injury. I don't want to say a major injury, but something that took some time to recover from. And you've been through birthing a child and things like that. So what are the biggest, I would just ask, what are the biggest kind of advice in being in CrossFit for 6 years? Because again, we try and tell people what we think, but it's almost like, well, they're just the coaches. They're going to tell me that.
Yeah.
Maybe someone that, and you have your level 1, so you are a certified CrossFit coach, but maybe just from an athlete perspective, coming from it as a mother, kind of for someone who's been through some major injuries, maybe some advice for just some people who either A, are scared, or B, just starting out. Because I think that's the biggest thing, is like, I can tell you till I'm blue in the face, but you really need to come experience it.
Yeah. So
maybe just some advice from an athlete perspective.
That's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question.
That's a big question. For people who are afraid to try it, I mean, I thought I was prepared for this. I had been swimming for 4 years and played soccer and thought I was this very strong person, and it put me on the ground. I mean, it's one of those things that it's hard for everybody, no matter what level of fitness. Sorry, the stirrings have begun. His feeding's coming up. It's hard for anybody at any level of fitness, because this is going to be new. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a new challenge, no matter where you are on that continuum. And what I can say is the gratification that does not come immediately, Although when you first start out, it definitely shows up those second, third month. You're like, oh man, I can run a mile a minute faster. This is insane. But the long-term gratification you get out of CrossFit is phenomenal. I tell everybody, you got to give it at least 6 months. It's frustrating. It's new and all that. And
you're going to go through 12 weeks of PRing everything.
Exactly.
And then it's going to stop.
Plateau, and you're going to go, what the heck just happened? But all along that way, you are meeting like-minded people who have heard a million times, well, I don't have time to work out. Well, no, you make time for the things you want to do. And if health is important to you and moving and delaying decrepitude is important to you, you will show up. And look, I'm not even going to tell you that I'm going to be here 6 times a week now that I have a kid. I have no idea how many times I'm going to be here. But it's important to me. And on that same note, you're surrounded by just wonderful people whom I would not have met otherwise. And like I said, this is my church. These people have helped me move several times. These people have come to my baby shower, come to my wedding. These are friends, and it's this community that you want to be a part of when you step in that door that first time. You're like, oh, they're all friends. They all hang out. That's cool. And when you show up, people say hi. And you end up not wanting to come just for the burn, but you end up wanting to come just to see the people. I would take that over the burn.
And that's the finest point to make right there, because fitness is almost like a byproduct of this social interaction engagement that you need in your life, especially, Michelle, if you're entering into motherhood and you're going to be in this phase where you're doing baby talk and you're talking to these smaller
This is
humans.
the most social interaction I've had in 3 days, by the way.
And guess what? It's healthy. Like,
it
you
is.
need it.
Yeah.
Whether obviously you're not be doing a podcast every day, but just having that interaction with the classmates and being able to share experience with all the moms.
Well, and it gets you out of, you're not just going to work. You're not just going to the grocery store. You have these other goals for you to set in life, because a byproduct too of being in this gym is you will ultimately set goals, and you will feel so good when you hit those goals. I've fallen off that bandwagon a little bit, but coming back, I'm going to have to set some. And
but you can set those goals being that I'm going to show up 3 times a week.
Yeah,
that's where
it doesn't have to be crazy.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a physical, like a weight number, or I put the a deadlift number.
And to fully answer your question too, people walk in here and they are intimidated because they'll see somebody like, back in the day, I could throw up 185 pounds on a clean and jerk. Probably can't do that right now. But if I had walked in the gym, I remember Alicia Wagner. She threw up some huge weight the first day I was there, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. But then you talk to her. She's one of the nicest people, and you're like, you're a normal human. And then she tells you, and oh, by the way, I started with a 15-pound bar. So I make it a point when newbies come in and they say, oh, well, you're doing, 225 deadlift and I'm only doing 65 pounds. I always respond with, go tell the woman on the street that you're doing 65 pounds. You're going to be the Olympian to her. I mean, it's all relative.
It's all perspective.
It's super easy to get in that comparison battle on whether it's the whiteboard or whatever it is.
And I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter what level you're at. Someone's always going to be better. I literally just watched, we were talking about Harrison Morris, and it's like a 17-year-old kid just watched him do a 100 kilo, by the way, not 190 pounds, 190 kilo clean and jerk double.
Yeah.
And then hit a 5-rep max back squat at 240 kilos. Just to give you perspective, 200 kilos is 440 pounds. So
he's closing in on 6.
Closing in on 6 for a set of 5 at 17 years old. So the point being is that's the pinnacle, but that's not even the pinnacle in the world. So there's always another level.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that talk about like genetic potential and so on and so forth. And again, that same kid was triple body weight back squat at age 12.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So
what?
Yeah, exactly. That's the proper response. Like, what? No,
Did he drink something when he was a child in his formula?
It
whole
would
milk?
be an interesting case study for sure.
Oh my gosh.
There's just certain people, like I could practice basketball every day for 10 years. I'm never going to be LeBron James.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just stop comparing yourself.
You got to make CrossFit what you want it.
Stop comparing. Yeah, 100%. I mean, the Open is coming up, and this will be, my goal has nothing to do with CrossFit at this exact moment. I personally have a weightlifting goal, and it ends on the last week of the CrossFit Open. So my CrossFit Open is not really going to be a CrossFit Open. So, but the point of that is it's really easy to go look on that leaderboard and go, I'm doing awful. Well, back in 2013,
back in
2013,
Coach put me in the fourth quarter.
I made the regionals and but it's a different goal.
Yeah, I'll say this. I'll have my 6-week checkup in 2 weeks. So that'll put me 2 weeks before the Open starts. Mm-hmm. My goal is to complete one Open workout RX this year. And last year, I was doing all of them RX, and I was leaderboarding,
but your goals have completely shifted.
Oh yeah.
And just what Mark said, it comes down to the fact that this has way less to do about fitness than way more to do about the people that you surround yourself with.
Well, it's like Michelle, this year, would you rather RX all the workouts or have a beautiful son?
Have a beautiful son.
Yeah.
Already got that,
yeah,
but we just want to keep him that way.
Right. Yeah. But you know what I mean? It's just that perspective and operating from a base of just gratefulness.
Yeah.
Gratitude and humility.
But for Jared, just being grateful that you have the opportunity to have a weightlifting goal instead of oh, you know what? I get to do the Open. Yeah. I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
I get to do this.
Yeah.
And it's just trying to operate through that space, and it's really tough because the leaderboard is going to be there, and people are going to be, I can't believe that this person, did this or whatever. It's well, guess what? They train 8 hours a day. I can't believe Rich Froning did this. Really? You still can't believe Rich Froning's really fit?
Yeah. Alex, since we all know Alex Scott, he was texting me the other day, and he said he's dropping in. He's just busy. Winter's busy. He's does snow plows and all this stuff. It's one of those things where you're up at 3 a.m. till 6 a.m. plowing snow. And he said he's been dropping into a gym from time to time recently. And he's like, first thing they asked me, you doing the Open this year? He's like, I just did 10 toes to bar and I'm wheezing. No. He's like, that's not a goal.
But to everybody's point, I truly think that everyone should do the Open.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it's $20, but it's $20. You get to see how you stack up against everybody else in the world. And I just thought that was so cool when I started CrossFit. It was like, man, I'm beating this girl from Thailand. That's cool. Yeah. And so for me, and you get to see yourself year over year. I know we have Wodify, and I know people write things down, but there is no better tracker of your own personal fitness than that year over year change. And they repeat workouts.
Yeah, we just redid an Open workout, which I would definitely consider the most humbling experience in my life. It was the first year of the Open, 2011. It was the burpee over the bar overhead squat workout. Mobility is not my strong point, and I think it was 120 pound overhead squat, and then there was muscle ups at the end. So before the workout, I'm warming up, doing some muscle ups, so on and so forth, which was kind of a big deal in 2011. Oh man,
yeah, no one could do them.
I think Easy Muhammad made it through that. 3 people made it through that one round of that.
So I think I did, and with Jared, we were trying to figure out I know you beat me in the workout, but it was still nowhere near where you're at now. But anyway, so we just repeated this workout, and
Maverick is very upset right now.
I can tell. Well, anyway, long story short, I was 4 years old whenever that workout happened. 25, I don't know.
Be right back.
Math's hard. And we just redid the workout, and I got a much better score, and now I'm 32. Yeah. So it's one of those things where without the Open, having those kind of benchmark style workouts and being able to repeat them, sometimes you don't know, because I think a popular question a lot of people probably internalize is am I just spinning my wheels with this stuff? Yeah. And then whenever you get that vindication and validation that hey, this stuff actually works. I know Jared had a Facebook post pop up not too long ago, and it was something like
it was from 2009 to 2000. Yeah, it might have been 2009, 2011, one of those things, and it was PR Fran. I had a 526 Fran and a 205 split jerk. That was my big that's awesome. I'm so excited, and it's it took 7 years to knock over 2 minutes off my friend. It took 7 years to add 110 pounds to my jerk. It wasn't I just got really strong.
CrossFit's the antithesis of our current society. I mean, there's no instant gratification except for those first 3 months.
Yeah.
And then you're in it for the long haul, buddy.
Yeah, 100%. I do think Maverick's probably going to be hungry here soon, correct?
It's getting there.
Yeah.
The passing only lasts so long.
Yeah, we'll kind of wrap things up. I think we hit some pretty good points. I do want to ask, this is, if you've listened to any of these, it's always a kind of last question. And I think for you, this has shifted. What we've talked about, kind of this whole podcast has grown. It's probably the best word, but it's grown and molded itself into a different meaning over the years, and that is just, what is your definition of fitness?
Ooh, definition of fitness. Fitness is being able to do the things you want to do without feeling exhausted. And whether that's me carrying my kid up the stairs in his bouncer because I need to change to get here to the podcast and not feeling like I'm going to fall. And then, coming in here and killing Fran with my friends. Fitness is about doing what you want, showing yourself you can do more than you thought. And, I want to throw some part of the community in there too, but fitness is being an overall good person who's happy. And if that's, whether you're doing CrossFit or you're running, you got to find the things that work for you. And for me, it's showing up here, being a part of this community and having the friends that I've gotten from it and the experiences of that lung burn. I love it.
Fantastic.
The lung burn.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Hashtag lung burn.
Hashtag lung burn. But it's probably a different thing on Instagram.
I don't want to.
Don't look at the images of that.
There's a lot of vaping videos on Instagram.
That's probably true.
All right. Thank you, Michelle, and thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep in the lives